morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Daily Dose. It's a overcast Wednesday.
What is it?
But
It's not. I think it might be the smoke. I think it's not really overcast.
yes, I think that's true. Dr. Mary said today that North Dakota has the worst air quality in America because of the way the fires are happening along the west coast and I think up in Canada. So our air quality is bad, but our house is safe. So I'm sorry for all the people living on the coast dealing with that. Good thing global warming's not a problem.
No,
All right.
climate changed.
Yeah.
It'll make this semester coming up easier for me, so I don't have to talk about it. So
That's true,
it's not real.
since it's just a
That's
farce.
half the
It's a
course
liberal
right there
farce.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so anyway. We are talking today about something that is, well, I'm 14 pages into it. You have heard me talk about Dorie Clark before. She is a business coach and a professor at Duke and a number of other places, and I belong to an online group she started called Recognized Experts. And she has a new book coming out in September called The Long Game, which I have gotten an advance copy of, a number of us have, not just me, to read and to write comments about. Reviews, sorry, I'm a little goofy today. So I started it this morning, and I'm super fascinated by it. 14 pages in, I don't pretend to tell you the content. And I was going to read you a sentence, and then I thought, boy, you know what, as an advance copy, maybe I shouldn't just decide that I can share word for word what she has to talk about. But what she's really, my sense from the thesis is that there's value in thinking about this long-term play. So I think one of the things that affects Americans in particular is we're really fascinated by quick fixes. We really love the idea of, well, I have two options. I could do the hard work of eating less and exercising more, or I could take a pill, or I could have surgery. Which one sounds better to me? I'll do B. Or I could work really, really hard and take on another job to pay off my debt, or I could declare bankruptcy. Or, you could fill in the blank. There are a lot of options for us, and the short-term quick fix almost always sounds better. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, because
It's immediate.
it's the road less traveled.
No, it's the road more traveled.
More traveled.
Yeah. So the outcome is likely to be immediate and successful. However you define success. I mean, I think declaring bankruptcy is hardly successful, but you know what I'm saying. So her point is, what if you think about the long win, the long path, and how everyday repetition and activities and prioritization might not lead to a short-term win, but will absolutely play towards this long-term goal. And there's two reasons that I'm interested in it. One is that it absolutely works for addiction.
Yeah, it does.
So talk about that a little bit from your perspective, please.
The long game is really the idea. The whole thing is you get your chips or your coins or medals, whatever you want to call them. So you get your 24-hour one, then you get your month one, and they're in monthly increments. Then you get your 1 year chip, and we've talked about this before. That's the big prize, and that's when a lot of people slip up. I think I've been sober for a year. I should be okay. I can start drinking again. Which is why, and I didn't realize this. I looked this up recently because I actually wanted to know the absolute truth behind it. Why is there an 18-month chip? And that's the reason why, because going from 1 year to 2 year, that long haul is the hardest for most addicts. And they do the same in NA. And in NA you get keyring chains.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. They're
Okay.
like this big and they're the same colour, but they're keyring chains. I don't know why. But you get year ones of those as well. You get an 18-month one of those as well. But then you get your 2 years, and then they're yearly after that. So when I got my 2-year chip, waiting to get my 3-year chip felt like an eternity, and the same from the 3 year to the 4th year. But it's the long game. It's all right, one day at a time now. It's one day at a time for 365 days, and that is a long haul. And the first time you do it, the first time I had to wait a year between chips, it really did actually feel like an eternity. It felt like a long game. And
Yeah.
it actually felt like I was doing more work, which is odd, because if you sit down and think about it, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But I took happiness in the fact that I was there just clapping people who were getting their monthly chips. And that made me feel good.
Well, you know, one thing that I think is interesting about it is if you take the long view, if you trip up somewhere in the middle, if you have a drink, if you fall off the wagon, if you have a lapse, you're not a failure because it's in the context of the whole year or the whole experience, as opposed to looking at it from a moment by moment. Because if you only have the memory, let's go with Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso says to a player, you know what animal has the shortest memory? Goldfish. 10 seconds. Be a goldfish. Because what is the point of dwelling on a failure or a mishap? Think about it in the long picture. And if you can think of it that way, then if you step off the path, you can get back on. And actually, stepping off the path might have taught you something, might have given you an opportunity, might have helped you learn something different that you couldn't have learned because you're so fixated on da 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 da. But in the long arc of things, what you take from the journey is what's valuable.
This works for everything. It works for everyday life. It's economics. It works for,
Investments. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I watched this program once, I think it was with you, about financing and why certain countries are better at it than other countries. In Japan, they don't think towards year end for getting things done, like, as a non-profit, the end of June.
The end of June.
Is just
Yep.
terrible for
Yep.
The same for things like AA. AA is a non-profit organisation, which means if it wants to keep its status, it has to have.
Has to submit its financials.
It's got to
and its
have
paperwork.
nothing
Yeah.
every 1st of July. It can have certain things that's been held in trust for it in some loophole that I don't even begin to
It's
understand.
not a loophole. It's totally legal.
Well, you know what I mean.
You
I
can
didn't
have money at the
I
end.
didn't.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
to declare it as something. I don't
Anyway.
begin to understand it.
Uh-huh.
But countries like Japan, they build their economy and not just looking for, what's our yearly budget. It's what's our budget for the next 50 years.
Well, it's interesting. There's an example in the book, in the introduction, about a man who does PR for a royal family. And the royal family says that to the man, we don't think about this in terms of PR for the year or PR for the current monarch. We think about it generationally. How do we sustain this? So let's talk about the royal family, which is the only royalty that I have any inkling of. There's always this conversation about, will the firm survive? What will happen to the firm when the queen dies? Maybe it's time for the firm to wrap up. You know what? The firm's only job is to sustain for the long haul. There's a reason that there's statues of Queen Victoria and other monarchs, and there's a reason that there's that long lineage. It's because the purpose of it is to think about in perpetuity, not, well, this lasts through Elizabeth's reign. Elizabeth is just the current head, and then it will move on and on and on. It is not about an individual. It's about the continuation. Like democracy. That's why we have elections. Democracy is not about the current man in the White House. It's about the arc of our government. And the same is true for every facet of your life. So the other reason that this is interesting to me, and she talks about this, that your job is to do the work, show up every day, even if it's dull or boring, or feels like a failure. Write the blog posts even if nobody's reading them. Make the daily live streams even if very few people are showing up, because over time it will start to build and you will be able to look back and look forward at the long haul. And it feels really appropriate for where we are in this new year to say we're clearly on the long path. Clearly. Or we would have wrapped it up months and months ago. And you are with us on it. And you're sometimes there really reliably and sometimes you're not. And it doesn't matter. The path is laid out and we are taking it. And we're going to step off in August for a little while and learn some stuff and figure out what do we want to do next. But I believe that what we want to do next is step back onto the path and keep going. Both because you have said it's valuable for you.
It is.
I have said it's valuable for me. We know it's valuable for us.
People tell us it's valuable.
People tell us that it's valuable. If this was really just about I have to be in front of the camera, there's a lot of other things I could talk about.
Yeah, we could be doing the local news.
Well, not easily. It's kind of a job.
Okay,
But yes,
yeah, you know what I mean.
yes, we could be doing
Professionally,
we could be doing other things.
Somewhere.
You could be talking about the plant cell wall every day on YouTube. Those kinds of things. I know that's exciting to you, isn't it?
Yes.
Kind of a Bill Nye the Science Guy, Maz Mary the potato fairy.
That's catchy. I might get Lester to do me find me a costume.
Nicole could make you a little costume.
Yeah,
Yep.
that'd be awesome.
Yep. All right. So we've clearly lost our mind. But I'm going to keep reading the book. And once it's out, then we'll talk about it so that you have access to the book. But I have to say, 14 pages in, I'm already interested in what Dory has to say, which is no surprise. She's really interesting as a person, as a writer, as a business thinker. So I'm not surprised that I'm interested in it. But I love that I'm already finding ways to think about what she's encouraging me to think about practically. So now you can too, and in September you can get your own copy and then we can talk about it together.
A person a lot wiser than me said to me about addiction and recovery. They said, it's not an easy path, it's a long path. And they said to me, do you own a house? I said, yeah. Well, you got a mortgage? Yes. I said, well,
not anymore.
Well, no, at the time I did. Think about it like that.
Yeah.
A mortgage is a long road.
Yes, it is.
He said, now, you can pay it off early, you can extend it, you can refinance. No matter what happens, you might have to refinance to send, go to college, or you might have to refinance because you need to fix your house, or you need a car, or you've got a job change, or there's a gap that you need to do, and you can do all these sort of things to keep you on a long haul that gives you a goal that you will eventually get to.
Yeah.
There are 10-year mortgages, there are 15, there are 20. You can. Some people do those 99-year lease things, which it didn't work out well for Hong Kong. So never buy a house that way.
It's probably
That's
true.
what I'm going to say.
Wow, who knew we were such economists?
I didn't.
I'm pretty sure you should not take economics advice from either of us.
No, don't.
But do think about what is your long game. Because if you don't, you probably will get to the end of today and think, ugh, what an utter failure today was. No, it's not.
Yeah, and you know
It's
what?
one day in the
And if
long
you thought your day
journey.
was bad, there's another one, and another one, and another one, and they won't all be bad.
That is very likely true. Have a great day. Tomorrow, we have a guest joining us. I'm really excited about him coming on. He is doing work that I think is, wow, to say that it is vital to not just the long game of individuals, but the long game of a successful community is a gross understatement. So we'll be on tomorrow with our guest, who I'm not going to announce in case it doesn't work out. We'll be on with somebody. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow with
Bye.
somebody. Bye.